Hey everyone, welcome back to the Digital Deep Dive Show with me, Reed Daly. This is episode number 13 of the show. Today is June 28th, 2023. We've got a fantastic show lined up for you. We're going to talk about news and tech, moving over to some Chicago spotlights on some emerging tech brands, some video podcast sort of content, if you will, and rounding it out with where you can find me in real life and on Zoom so we can connect and have coffee and or a Negroni. I just want to remind you, all ideas, thoughts are my own and not shared by any organization. And for those who are new, don't forget you can follow, subscribe to the show on Twitter and Instagram. That's at Digital3D Show. You can also listen, download, and stream the show on Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Spotify, and over at YouTube. We've been posting the YouTube. Now that YouTube is actually doing a little better job with their podcast feature, I need to actually double check how that is working and if I've got everything set up. But that is a digression. Okay, with all of that said, let's jump into this week's news and tech. So DeepMind is a Google company, and it claims its next chatbot will rival ChatGPT. So just an overview, if you are less familiar with DeepMind, it is a Google company. It is using techniques from its AlphaGo. DeepMind's AI system that was the first to defeat a professional human player at the board game Go. If you're less familiar with Go, it's kind of like checkers and chess all wrapped into one. It's a strategy and tactic game. And, they're very excited, and they're calling their rival to ChatGPT Gemini. So the takeaway here is that if you follow what the CEO states about Gemini, it will have the ability to plan or solve problems as well as analyze text. And as they continue to progress in the year of AI, it will be interesting to see how individuals, corporations, and industries adapt using these large language models on available data sets and their own data sets. I think that's the biggest thing. I am most keen for the backside of this year, kind of early next year, is how do organizations start to either pull data into a data lake or point LLMs to their own data lake and start to think through and not as much monetize, but take action based on the data. All right, moving to story number 2 for the week. So Google is investing $20 million to stand up and expand 20 cybersecurity clinics at universities around the U.S., the company announced last week. So Google, in collaboration with the Consortium of Cybersecurity Clinics, will support select colleagues, universities, and community colleges with up to $1 million each to increase access and opportunities for students interested in pursuing careers in cybersecurity. Last month, Google launched the Google Cybersecurity Certificate, focused on preparing people for entry-level jobs in cybersecurity. As little as 3 months, no experience is required to enroll. In the consortium, which you can go to through google.org or go directly to their website, I've linked it in the show notes on LinkedIn, our newsletter over there. Like I said, they're doing $20 million, so not a huge investment, but it's a really interesting thing that Google is working sort of with local communities and schools. It's similar to, clinics at, how law students and law clinics are set up, where they provide discounted legal aid to specific groups to help, kind of maybe local or underserved communities. And this is the same idea, that they'll have these sort of cybersecurity frontline workers. I think it's a fantastic idea and opportunity, both for those that will get trained through an apprentice-like program, and then those that will benefit from the services being provided. So kudos to the Consortium of Cybersecurity Clinics and Google for going after this initiative. The third story I wanted to discuss was the more recent executive briefing series on the state of cybersecurity and the key takeaways. So the executive briefing series was created for C-level executives and investors to share emerging topics of interest. This platform facilitates the exchange of diverse ideas and perspectives and offers a unique opportunity for individuals to connect, collaborate, and learn from one another. More recently, in June 23, we had a session, and I say we because I am part of the executive briefing series, and have really enjoyed it over the last 6 to 8 months as we continue to expand our database, we expand our number of events, and really are starting to build a strong community there. The context is we host roughly a monthly meeting. I think we're doing 10 out of 12 months this year, and we discuss key topics, as I mentioned, and we have a panelist group, typically 3 folks, that have unique perspective, and they sort of are driving the conversation with one of the founders kind of moderating it, and then you've got the guests that are participating and learning and kind of chiming in. The full takeaway from the June event can be found via the cybersecurity takeaways document. So what I've done is if you go to the newsletter on LinkedIn, or you follow the show, Digital 3D Show at Twitter, or just me at Read Daily, I'm going to be linking those takeaways so you can read them. Pretty interesting there. We had some heavy hitters in terms of chief security officers, cybersecurity team members, and experienced practitioners. So go check that out. All right, moving over to my hometown, Chicago. So we've got 2 spotlights of tech companies doing some really great stuff. The first is the Leap platform, or just Leap, which launched and operates insight-driven retail stores, has more than doubled its network size and revenue since the platform's Series B financing back in January 22nd. So that was pretty quick turnaround, especially in this market where less people are going to brick and mortar retail stores. The ability to actually go have the data to support raising another round is pretty impressive, so hats off to them. Leap is building the world's largest network of brand retail stores powered by data, technology, and scale. So the way it works is their platform enables brands to deploy stores that work in concert with e-commerce and more rapidly at reduced cost and risks. So if you go to their website, you can see sort of some of the capabilities, which is deploying stores. Obviously, like I said, you're able to create a immersive customer experience, and they do that through sensors and technology to track and manage individuals within the retail store. Brands that they're working with are Frankie's Bikinis, Public Rec, Set, just to name a few. So they've already kind of moving quickly there. And if you're a retail provider or a retail store or thinking of getting into brick and mortar from DTC, I would highly check them out. Just based on everything that I've seen, I'm impressed. Love to go into a store and get a little firsthand experience of what all their tech looks like and kind of the data on the back end. So if you are over at the Leap platform, please reach out to me directly on LinkedIn or Twitter. I'd love to get a chance to kind of demo your solution. I've got many kind of retail contacts that I think would benefit from experiencing your service offering and capabilities. All right, the next is Pero, which announced it had raised $25 million in a Series C funding to develop its platform further and supporting freelance experts and continuing its expansion with enterprise clients. So Gareth Timble, who's the senior managing director at Top Tier Capital Partners, who is one of the round investors, is saying that Pero's proprietary AI matching software solves a pain point felt in traditional marketplaces by proactively matching experts with the most appropriate job opportunities, enabling a trusted and reliable experience for all parties. So if I'm reading that, it basically says that they've got a really good matching software of skill sets versus needs, and it just means quicker time to market for identification of candidates, in terms of sourcing, procuring them, getting them staffed and executed. the question I had just reading this and not knowing the technology is, are they tapping into their own database, or do they have the ability to, tap into other open APIs or other data sets? Because if that's true, then this is immensely powerful, and they'll be able to become a faster originator or broker. I almost compare it to, their model is very similar to what the fintechs are doing, right? With sitting on banks. That's kind of how I think about it. The difference is, instead of capital, they're giving individuals. So kudos to the team at Paro, and I wish them all of the best luck. Okay, so normally I feature a podcast an episode from a podcast that I've really enjoyed, but this week I'm going to do it a little different. I'm going to feature about an hour-long roundtable discussion on generative AI and AI. It was presented by the Progress Partners in Boston. The Progress Partners as an organization is a Boston and New York-based corporate advisory firm that works with buyers and sellers of emerging growth companies to complete M&A or private placement transactions. They have deep industry expertise and networks in entrepreneurial backgrounds, which gives them the ability to help their clients build and realize superior value. So the video was, like I said, about an hour or so of a roundtable discussion led by the Progress Partners, Chris Legg, who kicked off the discussions. We had Sarah Fay on there, who's an AI and frontier investor at Glasswing Ventures, Robert Redman, the VP of ad products at IBM, and Connor Grennan, who's one of the most influential thought leaders on AI, and is also the Dean of Students in the MBA School of Business at Stern. The fun takeaways from the video that I included on LinkedIn were thanks to Nikki Magoo. She actually crafted them from ChatGPT. Added her own twist, so I wanted to give full shout outs to her. But what I did is I linked not just Nikki's notes, but also the YouTube video is linked and embedded. So if you go ahead to the newsletter, you'll be able to see that and kind of watch that. It was really enjoyable to listen to that. I probably listened to it 2 or 3 times now, and just some fun takeaways there. Rounding out the show, we're going to talk about events in real life and digital. So heading to Toronto today for the AGC Toronto Software Summit. Pretty excited about this. Haven't been to Toronto since pre-COVID. We've got a ton of deal makers, VC, PEs, and it's just going to be interesting to get a pulse of the market in Canada and Toronto. Toronto has become such a hotbed for technology tech, and just going to be interested to see how it compares to other markets like Austin, San Francisco, Chicago, Boston, etc. So if you are in Toronto over the next 24 hours, send me a note on Twitter or LinkedIn. Love to connect. I'll be at the Event Hotel. You can find out more by going to AGC Partners website. Then coming up after the 4th of July week, thankfully I am off for about a week, but bouncing right back on July 13th, I'll be in Chicago at the 3rd annual Cocktails and Deals event as part of ACG, and it's going to be over at Porter Kitchen and Deck, so check me out there from 4:30 to 7:30. Looking forward to connecting with folks. And then from a virtual standpoint, we've got the State of Human Capital 2023 edition as part of the Lewis Manning Executive Series. And we're going to be discussing, the rapidly changing world and how organizations need to adapt human capital strategies to keep up. So looking forward to that discussion. And that wraps it up for this week's episode of the Digital Deep Dive Show. I know it's been a couple weeks since my last episode, just been on the road a lot, but trying to do a better job of putting out a weekly episode. Probably going to make them a little shorter just to keep up with all the news and kind of activities. If you like the updated sort of shorter format, let me know in the comments. send me a note. And if I don't hear from you, if you don't hear from me, enjoy the 4th of July celebrations, and we'll catch you right after 4th of July with an update on episode number 14 of the show. Thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to like, follow, subscribe on Twitter and Instagram at Digital 3D Show, and on your favorite podcast platforms. That is Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and now YouTube. And if you are a LinkedIn person, check out the newsletter on LinkedIn. You can just search for the Digital 3D Show, or going to my personal page. That's linkedin.com/in/Reed Daily, all one word. All right, time to jet. Got to get on the plane. I will see you when I see you.